Many of us associate the sea travelers and plunderers of tropical and subtropical seas with intriguing chapters of famous adventure novels and vivid film shots. In particular, such perceptions apply to Pirates of the Caribbean. But the reality associated with these guys was somewhere much more terrible and somewhere much more gross. This is Flip Side of History, and today we'll discuss pirates and their depraved lifestyle. Please continue watching. The actual life of pirates. And what if we remove the romantic phrases and deeds of honor of fictional captains or terrifying tales about such dubious characters as Blackbeard, Silver, and Barbarossa? In fact, there were many people with the nickname Barbarossa. In the bottom line, we'll see something less decent. What exactly? Dirt all over, a bunch of diseases resulting from overheating, hypothermia or lack of food and water in the body, alcohol poisoning, absence of noses, ears, and motor limbs, a lot of bloody conflicts as well as incredibly strange superstitions. Disgusting perversions in terms of torture and sexual aspects vividly show distancing with civilization. Brothels and Port Royal. Sea apostates going to the sea gradually began to differ from the rest of the men, living in harmony with the laws. But the basic needs remained familiar: food, drink, entertainment, and obviously, natural urges. Therefore, in the capital of pirates, Port Royal, located in Jamaica, there were also houses of tolerance. Of course, only very specific ladies dared to serve such daring clients, those who had a level of disgust close to zero. As a rule, these were young ladies who had also accumulated problems in their country of origin and were forced to flee from there, as well as abandoned mistresses of pirates or people from the aboriginal population of the island. Some of the brothel workers ended up here against their will, being the prey of pirates. Although not all sea robbers dared to take such a cargo on board. A girl on a ship, tragedy will come. The city, Port Royal with the fortress, was called New Babylon, just because of the abundance of all kinds of entertainment. Each of them in any modern country corresponds to the article of the criminal code: extreme gambling, fighting to the death with bets, sale of stolen goods, and especially large-scale and undercover slave trade. But for most of these daredevils, the main light at the end of the tunnel was the female body. And it was here of all shapes and sizes. From the middle of the 17th century, it was British pirates who became the kings of the city. And they are already by that time used to diversity in everything. The British sometimes demanded things from prostitutes that are even indecent to mention in this episode. Then you'll understand what we mean. Just cover your ears. It is no coincidence that the memoirists of those years called the largest pirate lair in history the New Sodom. Cruelty and vices. Where does this cruelty and attitude come from? The abnormal features of bad interaction with prostitutes, sometimes even male, were easily explained by the deep depravity of most brothel clients. It was developed either during the pirate campaigns themselves, when the more young ones adopted suspicious experience from the mature, or while still on dry land. Moreover, this does not apply to the poor classes only. The Frenchman Alone once ripped open the chest of a Spanish prisoner, took out his organ and ate it in front of his entire crew. The Englishman Morgan liked to gouge out the eyes of Spanish people who happened to be on his ship. The sad captain did this with a red-hot metal rod. The leader of another naval gang, the Dutchman Rocher Brasiliano, loved to roast alive Spanish colonial farmers. But the poor fellows of other nationalities and tribes also weren't lucky. Landing here and there, pirates burned the ships hunting for them, with people still alive. The settlements of some intractable aborigines and chopped up any war prisoners in stages, collectively enjoying their torment and laughing loudly at the same time. All of the grim human traits turned out to be domineering while plundering. Many of pirates also bet on how long this or that poor guy would last. People on a rope liked to drag under the keel of the ship, after which many of them lost limbs and even heads. However, the sailors of some states of that terrible time loved to create such horror. But depravity manifested itself in this environment not only through such cruelty. Pirates were treacherous, with many being liars at heart. Very few of them could be trusted in anything. Intimate likings of pirates. Corsairs carried out their intimate urges not only in brothels. Sometimes they didn't get to places where these establishments existed at all for a long time. Sodomy flourished. It turns out that there were even same-sex marriages, more so as a kind of protest to society. Bestiality. Small animals were often taken on the ship as provisions or a source of milk. The most controversial thing is that such nasty garbage was allowed on the ship, but women and gambling were not. But there's nothing surprising here. Ladies and money losses divided the team. everyone would just cut each other. Much more harmless were running in sacks, jumping on prisoners, and two more famous entertainments were banal sinfulness by hands toward each other and mockery of prisoners. Positioning towards women. Only on land, the bodily entertainment of pirates took on more classical forms. Women became available to them again. By the way, how did the sea devils, as they were called, generally treat the fair sex? Let's start with the fact that some of these representatives were pirates themselves. This was recorded extremely rarely, but it was nonetheless still recorded. There was the Red Lady, for instance. As for ordinary young ladies, pirates, because of a belief, met them exclusively on the shore. Misfortune has not been cancelled. A woman was considered synonymous with turmoil. It was to avoid confusion that the code prohibited games for money and even any disputes. Secondly, the heroes, or rather villains of this review, have never even given ships female names. We see them only in well-known novels, the events of which have nothing to do with reality. Yes, there were feminine markings words, but they do not denote women in the literal sense of the word, but water and other elements, the names of historical regions, also cities, countries, or estates of the human soul. While thirdly, even on land, the pirate did not behave quite naturally with the ladies, unless, of course, it was a prostitute, with whom everything was easy and clear. At sea, in a purely male society, he often lost such qualities as gallantry, which showed him very unfavorably against the background of others. Because of psychological dissonance, he often avoided meeting with ordinary women, no matter what. After all, a pirate was also afraid to fall in love, knowing that he would have to leave the lady anyway. The end of the pirate era. In the middle of the 18th century, the authorities of the leading maritime powers increased mobility, the number of people and weapons in their military fleets, so much so that they succeeded in defeating piracy. This was greatly facilitated by the fact that pirate alliances quickly fell apart, not representing a formidable force for a long time. We can also add that you have already understood that contradictions quickly arose within one pirate gang, which also quickly turned into stabbings. As a result of the above policy, some pirates ended up on the gallows, and others were able to avoid punishment by accepting a pardon. Some became privateers in the service of governments. These include the Englishmen Francis Drake and William Dampier, the Welshman Henry Morgan, the Turk Kemal Reis, the German Paul Benecke, the future American David Hawley, and the same Frenchman Jean Lafitte, who did everything for the colonization of the Gulf of Mexico. These are the people, many of whom went into the service of their native government even before the era of the piracy crisis. It was they, already working for the government, who began to gradually weaken the evil phenomenon of piracy itself. That being the case, they were ahead of their time. The descendants of half of them, taking advantage of the enormous wealth of their pirate ancestors, founded dynasties of the rich, who only increased their capital and influence on the world with each upcoming century. That was Flip Side of History. Thank you for watching this episode. We hope you enjoyed it. Subscribe, like, and share it. And for now, see you in our future episodes.